Hello, is this working? I hope so. Right, let's have a quick look. Sorry for all the preliminary checks. This is the first time that we're doing it, but it seems like we're good to go. Fantastic. Right, well, welcome everyone to the first YouTube short stream that we're doing. This is basically going to be a look ahead to the following month and also a look back at what happened previously. Now, January and February are usually quite quiet months in the world of VR, and honestly, this one wasn't a whole lot different. In terms of game releases, there was like, this actually, I think just no, I think it's this week. So even in like February, we're getting Jolly Roger Pirates VR, which got delayed by a week, unfortunately. But we have had Katana Red Flowers. I reviewed that and had a good time with it from the makers of Stride. We also had Puzzles of the World as well, which is a smaller puzzle kind of game, which there wasn't a whole lot to it. Counter-Strike VR from the dudes at Team Beef, which I had a really fun time revisiting, to be honest. Like, Counter-Strike isn't a game that I've played since, like, the game released. So, going back and jumping back into that world was actually a lot of fun. So, that was quite good. We also had the surprise drop for Legend of Tales, which definitely has some issues, but I appreciate the game's ambition. I know the dev has been quite vocal about some of the issues that he's had with the Meta Store, which, honestly, I see it. I see it, but I also don't. Like, on the one hand, the Meta Store is terrible. Like, they have a new releases section that's curated, but they curate shite. Like, the fact that you've got this, it's an indie game, but it's got AA ambition, I suppose. With the grand scope of the game and all the mechanics, but you've got what's quite a big title, really, for VR games, and should be quite an exciting release, and it's nowhere to be found, which, isn't on. It's really not on. So I get that. But at the same time, the game did come out of nowhere. Like, I didn't realise it even existed until, like, Matteo mentioned in his video that, oh yeah, this is out tomorrow. And I was like, you joking? And it was a surprise release. Couldn't find it on the store, couldn't search for it, nothing. So yeah, I picked it up the following day and just kind of went full hammer on it, in order to get a review out. And yeah, I'd say I enjoyed it. It does a lot of things wrong, but it does some things right, and I certainly applaud its ambition at the very least. So yeah, the big news for January, of course, was the Meta layoffs and the whole general sort of restructuring. Now, I've got a video talking about this, so I'm not going to go into too much depth. But the Meta layoffs were unfortunate. A lot of great studios got shut down, and yeah, it's not good. Like, we've got Camouflage that did Batman, which got downsized. Yeah, Twisted Pixel, who just put out Deadpool VR, which, despite my sort of mixed thoughts on the game of it being kind of alright but containing a lot of flaws, that got shut down. Armature Studios as well, that was a big blow. I mean, they did Resident Evil 4 VR, which is possibly my favourite VR game on the Meta Quest. It's so well done, and I was kind of looking forward to seeing what they had in store next, and nothing as it seems, because they shut down. A few games got cancelled as well, like they had a Batman Arkham Shadow sequel in the works which got canned. It may still come to something, but I doubt it. I think they've knocked on the head. We had a Harry Potter game, which, honestly, I'm not a fan of Harry Potter. Aside from J.K. Rowling just being an absolute knob. The Harry Potter universe sort of came around when I was a bit too old for it, so yeah, I tried watching the films and stuff, and I kind of thought, yeah, it's fine if you're like 10, But if you're a functioning adult, then maybe not. But there's a lot of adults now that grew up on it. Like, I was too old for it then, but there's like adults now that did grow up on it as a kid. And for that, fair play. I still have a fondness for the worst witch saga, which was like pre-Harry Potter. But, I don't go back reading those books. So yeah, I mean, there was a whole kind of thing. Like, I met her done for, I met her abandoning it. Me included. I mean, it does seem like they're definitely pivoting towards wearables. They did come out, like, later. Like, a lot later. Like, way later than they should have. Where they basically just said, we're not moving away from VR. We're going to be supporting third parties. We're just putting the first party stuff. And I don't know. I kind of called bull on that. Their last event was basically wearables only. Which seemed to send a clear message as it was, and the fact that this has come shortly afterwards is a bit suspicious. And also as well, you had like two really high-profile games with Batman and Harry Potter in the works. They made reasonable progress from what I believe. So the fact that you panned those, if you were kind of moving away towards support, surely you'd sort of fizzle out and maybe not just cancel everything abruptly, but kind of, these games, yeah, they're looking good, they're going well, making good progress. We'll keep them going and knock them out. I mean, it's not like it's a Beyond Good and Evil 2 kind of situation, or Duke Nukem Forever, where pick your era. Where it's just kind of in development hell, and it's just going to be a lot easier and a lot cheaper just to cancel the fucking thing. With this game, it seemed like they were fine and they knocked on the head, and I was just kind of like, don't sign new projects, let them finish that and just phase it out. Otherwise, you're gonna get this negative press, because even if you are supporting devs, the fact that you've cancelled two really exciting projects is gonna piss a lot of people off. So, you've got the two options where they're either moving away towards wearables and just maybe sort of like dipping their toes in VR to see if there's still interest, or they legitimately are going to be supporting third parties. If they are going to be supporting third parties, then fair enough. I mean, that's basically what Sony does for the most part, and other like VR companies that have headsets. So really, Meta was in the minority with Oculus Studios pumping out great game after great game. But still, I think the approach was it sent a message, and that message was not a good message. But anyway, with all that negativity, there is some positivity on the horizon. We've got February coming up, and I see February as being somewhat exciting. We have some new hardware dropping, kind of, in the form of the Virtual Boy Classic, which is not really hardware. It's glasses, but they obviously use a Switch. Like, all the software is on the Switch, on the NSO, and this is really just the glasses part, which I see as being pretty exciting regardless. They've got switch out filters and stuff for the colours, which is nice, and you get to play Virtual Boy games, which, some people argue about how much is Virtual Boy virtual reality. Because you can't exactly look around, but that's more towards it being fixed in place, really. But you look at games like Witchblood, and those are kind of just staring forward as the action goes out ahead. I don't think there's that much difference. So I see it as at least pseudo VR. The exciting thing is, because it's just the glasses and their 3D glass, their VR glasses rather. I can see this potentially working with the Labo stuff. Whether it does remains to be seen. But we've got things like Breath of the Wild, for example. Now, Breath of the Wild does have a VR mode, but in Labo VR, you're like that, which is kind of uncomfortable. I do have a third-party VR headset, which is like, honestly, uncomfortable as shit. I'm not gonna lie, it's really uncomfortable. But the good thing is, you can strap the Switch on your head, and then have the Joy-Cons in your hand at least, which makes Breath of the Wild somewhat viable. The problem is the Switch's screen is quite low resolution, so it's still quite blurry. But because the Virtual Boy is like towards, I think it can be used on OLED and also Switch 2. That kind of means that potentially, you could play Breath of the Wild in VR at decent resolution. You go with your head stuck in the table, for the headset. But it's going to be way more comfortable than the alternative. I mean, it's nothing like the Breath of the Wild VR mod that came out recently, but it's still something. I also kind of think that in terms of hardware, we're going to get some more news about the Steam frame and the Steam machine. I kind of expected it to come last month. I really thought they'd take advantage of the whole meta situation, just pounce on that. But they didn't, so hey ho. But I don't think we're far off. I mean, they did say I think they said the first quarter or early 2026 or something, which does seem to imply that it's not far off. And the Steam Deck had a pre-order period before going into full release, which I think was a month or two apart. So really, I think they're gonna have a video soon, basically, showing off the price and the date and stuff, and saying, oh, pre-orders will be available next week, and then the release will be, maybe a couple of months after that. But we'll see. I can definitely see that happening in February, especially with it being a quieter month. There's not going to be anything to drown it out, because we've got a VR showcase coming in March, but not February. In terms of games, I mean, games are pretty dire this month. In terms of how many there are, I mean, in terms of what's been announced, I mean, we've got what have we got? We've got Orcs and Men, which does look solid. It does look pretty decent. I've not played any of the fighter games though, so I can't exactly say I'm overly excited. I'm more kind of excited because it's sort of a bigger release in a period where there's not really all going on. And in the spirit of flat games coming to VR, we also have rumours that Tin Hearts Act 1 is coming this month. We have a date of February the 12th, but they've not confirmed it, and I've reached out to the publishers to confirm it, and they said, no news yet, but stay tuned. So, with it being 10 days away, maybe it'll happen, maybe not, I don't know. On a similar vein, Evil Inside was supposed to come out this month. Again, not had any news since, so will it happen, will it not? I don't know. At least with Evil Inside, though, I'm not really that excited. I reviewed the flat game, which you can see on the site, and it was shit. Right, let's just go into it. I covered Evil. I think I reviewed Evil Inside. Did I review it? Infinite Inside, Evil None. Okay, no, maybe I didn't review it. Well, I didn't review it, but I certainly played it, and it was shit. It's a game that takes 20 minutes to beat. It's €20 or something, or €15, so not exactly the cheapest either. You move around really slowly, and there's not really puzzles or anything going on. It's sort of like a PT, but without the gameplay, because you walk around in circles, and then a scare happens at you. So it's more those haunted house kind of coasters where you just go around in a circle a couple of times, and some lass dressed as a witch just kind of taps you on the head with a broom and gives you a little shock. You're oh fuck. It's like that. So it's a bit shit. I mean, to be fair, it's an experience I think will work better in VR, so I definitely see it being improved. But I don't know. The publisher puts out some pretty shit content, to be honest. I mean, I think it's Jandu Soft from what I remember. But yeah, I covered a bunch of their games, and there's some stuff which is kind of low budget but decent, and then there's some stuff that's just shovelware. So, but we will see. I mean, if they price it right, if it's priced as a budget title, if it's like €5 or something, and has some decent VR mechanics, then I'd say it's worthwhile. The problem is, I say, like, €5 seems really cheap. I'm like, oh, all VR games should be cheap. No, this VR game should be fucking cheap. But we'll see. Tin Hearts, on the other hand, is priced at €5, and that's the first act, so they're doing it on an episodic release. And again, this is a game I've played flat, and whilst I do think it sort of fizzles out towards the end, because I think it gets a bit too fiddly towards the end. Like, I know that the first couple of acts are really enjoyable, so even if I might not be able to recommend some of the later acts, the first couple of acts certainly I think are going to be great in VR. It just depends on performance more than anything, because this is running on a Quest, and it's pretty intensive. But to be fair, they got a flat game working on the Switch, so why not? Right, and that's pretty much it in terms of like game releases. I know the Virtual Boy's gonna get some like unreleased games coming up, but they're at a later date, so we're gonna get like a handful of great VR Virtual Boy titles with Wario Land, and you've got 3D Tetris and stuff like that. But the really exciting stuff, the unreleased stuff, is just gonna get a later date, so later this year perhaps. But it's Nintendo, they'll release it when they want. Anyway, this isn't just what we're doing. We've had a quick look at what's happened last month and what's coming up in the month ahead, which to be fair didn't last long because it's the start of the year. But we're also going to look at some beats. The good thing is, January is quite quiet, but there was Christmas, and I have Christmas off, and with the Christmas holidays at the start of the month, I did beat a bunch of games, like some VR games and some other. So we're going to look and we're going to tier list them. So I've ranked a few different things. Hold on. Here we go. It's come up. Right. So we've got a few different rankings here. We have fantastic for games that I think are just like superb. Not necessarily perfect, but great. Really liked it. I really liked it. Not superb. I really liked it. Decent. I thought it was good. It's fine, I guess. It's for like average games, and garbage is for shit. I've separated, as you might see here. We've got like VR games that I've beaten this month, and then I've done the flat games. I figure that the VR games are probably going to be more interest to people tuning in, so I'm going to cover those first. There's a lot of flat games I covered, which I'll go into in a bit as to the reason why. But yeah, anyway, we'll cover some VR games. Now I'm going to start with a bit of a controversial one with Superhot VR. Superhot VR is a banger. I love Superhot. I just think that the VR version doesn't live up to the flat version. I mean, being ruined on the spot is jarring, from someone who played the flat game. But it's not necessarily a problem. Once you get used to it, it's a fun mechanic, and I think it's still great. The problem I have is the content. The game is really short, really short. So is the flat game, but the flat game has like loads of extra bonus modes and bonus challenges and stuff you can beat. Whereas this one is just like do it fast, do it without getting hit, and it's a long call from katana only and all the kind of unusual challenges you got in the flat game. And I see it as wasted potential. I think they could have done more with the post game to keep you replaying. And as such, I don't think it's as replayable as the flat game. It's still a really good game, and I think it's a great experience for people who are new to VR. But I kind of think, in the grand scheme of things, it's not necessarily a classic. Now we've got the line, which I'm kind of edging between really liked and decent. There's not really anything to it. It's sort of an interactive story, but it's cute. In fact, I'm going to put it decent because you don't actually have that much. You don't actually have that much input. Like, you control a few switches and stuff here and there, but really, for the most part, you're just watching the story play out. And it's a cute little story. It's a short one, but it's got some nice visuals. It's a cheap game. I think it's definitely a worthwhile experience. It's just that as a game, there's not a lot to it. And if you're not into the story, it's probably not going to grab you. So I think decent is a good one. I don't think it's like an average game. I think it's good for what it is. It's just that it doesn't do a lot. Hitman 3 VR Reloaded. I always seem to play this at Christmas at the in-laws. They play bingo, I play Hitman 3 VR Reloaded. I have no idea why I do it, but yeah, it's fine. Like, I had a video, looking at this in retrospect over the past year, and it's a terrible VR game with some poorly implemented VR mechanics. The visuals are pretty terrible with, it's still some serious popping. They solved like a fair bit of it and they did make improvements, but there's still a lot that's just not acceptable. Oh, hang on. There we go. I don't know why the thing keeps disappearing on the stream. But yeah, it's just not acceptable. Like the states in, even just things like unlockables. The unlockables sometimes unlock, and what's there isn't much. And the challenges just don't work. You unlock them and then they don't save. You unlock the shortcuts and they don't save. And it's just kind of these are basic things they should just fix. Like I know there's certain things and certain changes and updates that they need to run by IOI. So, it's a whole process. So I kind of get about like some things, like with maybe the immersion mechanics and adding some new ones, but stuff like bug fixes, they could have sorted that out. I'm sure IOI would have just done fine, fix it. But yeah, it should have been more. But the thing is, like Hitman 3 is the best one of the trilogy. The Hitman reboot trilogy, Hitman 3 is easily the best one. Like aside from the finale, which is just a finale, the other levels are like bangers through and through with like a lot to do and a lot to play with. So there's still fun to be had there. Yeah. The thing is, if you've got access to PC VR or PSVR, then there's no reason to play Hitman World of Assassination. And I suppose the good thing about Hitman 3 VR Reloaded is that even when the Steam frame is out, it's probably not really powerful enough to run it without a PC or Steam machine to hook up to. So yeah, if you're playing it on the go, like family occasions, it's probably one of those games that there is a reason for it to exist, I suppose. But yeah, I'm not gonna bat for it. But yeah, it's fine. I'm not gonna put in garbage because I do still play it, but it's not great. What is garbage though is Puzzles of the World. There's like two. There's you've got Venice and Kyoto, from what I believe, and you've got two little puzzles. The hand tracking is awful. The controller tracking is hit and miss. Sometimes things snap together, sometimes they don't. It's wonky. There's not much to it. I mean, it's free, so I probably shouldn't put in garbage, but it really needs a serious patch. It shouldn't have released in that state. Like I can see potential. This could raise up to one or two higher to fine or decent if they fix it, but the version I played at least was garbage. What isn't garbage though is some assembly required. I have a playthrough coming up soon. Once Shattered is done, you'll see this. So I think, just looking at my schedule, it's going to be like right at the end of February. I've got it currently scheduled for the 28th of February, so unless my calculations are off, you should start seeing at the end of the month. But yeah, I have a playthrough of it on the channel where I basically just go in blind. I played the first stage, I think the first stage or two before, and I was having difficulty just clicking with it and being able to build like functional stuff, and then just dropped it. And then I went back and really stuck with it and really tried to grasp the mechanics and tried to think about what I was doing, and then it just clicked into place, and I had a blast. I think in my playthrough I had maybe one like complete failure in terms of where a construction I made just didn't fucking work, and I had to do like another video just with it later after I played around with it. But other than that, you can sort of get ideas and build your own machines, and do what you want and solve these problems your way. It reminds me of something like the Siege VR or even Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts to an extent. There's a lot of creativity in it, and it's cute, and there's a lot of content here for you to go back to even once you're done. I really appreciate it. I think it's a really great game, and I will have a playthrough and also a review. The review will be coming. You know what? The review is scheduled for this week, so if all things go well, you should be hearing my thoughts this week on the game. But yeah, either way, spoilers, fantastic, great game. Now let's see what's next. Shattered again, fantastic game. I do like some assembly required more, but Shattered is a fantastic game that really makes use of the mixed reality concept. It has some great puzzle rooms. I'm playing through it at the moment on the channel, so you can sort of see how it is there. It doesn't really do it justice because I'm shit puzzle games or some puzzle games. Um, so I had some difficulty just thinking, what the fuck is this game asking me? But I kind of got there in the end and sort of stuck with it. Some are more kind of obscure than others, but none of them feel unfair. There's some moments where I kind of think it's a bit janky, but otherwise I think it's great. If you've got like a small gaming setup like I do, then it can get a bit claustrophobic, but it still works. If you've got a bigger gaming setup where you've got room to sort of spread things around, I think you'd enjoy it more. But either way, so long as you've got, you know, I'd say like less than 2 by 2 meters, like 1.8 by 1.8, I think that's probably enough. Obviously, it's not ideal, as I say, but it shouldn't put you off the game. If you like that kind of game, that kind of puzzle game, those kind of escape room type things, you'll have a great time. Pirates VR Jolly Roger. Yeah, I'm gonna pray it's fine. I'm gonna put it below Hitman as well. Like it was a major disappointment, like with Hitman, and a lot of things just don't click with me. I mean, it's sort of mediocre. Like if you can accept the fact that this tries to be a pirate game and just refuses to do anything pirate. So, it's sort of like you've got this tropical island and you're searching for Davy Jones's treasure, but you're just some dude. If you see it as that, then yeah, it's fine. Um, some of the stuff works better than others. Like the climbing works, really well. But the puzzles are obtuse. The pickaxe is fucking shit. Like the pickaxe, it just phases through objects and you just go just wandering in, waggling about inside objects until like a crack starts appearing to show that some progress has been made. Yeah, it's pretty fucking shit. um, it's shit as a pirate game and got some shit elements. But I enjoyed like getting headshots off at enemies, and I said the climbing is fine. And I kind of think if you pick with someone a sale for relatively cheap, it's okay. I mean, it's not garbage. It's just I wanted a pirate game. Like this got announced for. I'm going off on a tangent. This got announced for PlayStation, and I was really excited for it, and then subsequently disappointed when I saw that it wasn't coming out for the Quest. And I just sort of ignored it. I thought I don't want to hype myself up for a system I don't fucking have. And then I saw it was coming out for PC, so for the Meta Quest. And I thought, oh, you know what? I watched this trailer, this initial announcement trailer, and not pay any attention. Like the fact that I missed it when it came on PlayStation, and just ignored it after that. It means I can basically go in blind, and this should be really exciting because I don't get to do that very often. And I like doing it for titles I'm excited for. Like, but yeah, I was disappointed. Like putting my hype for it aside, I think it's still just a mediocre experience. So I'm not gonna put it in trash, but it doesn't go higher. Smurfs, fantastic. I'm even gonna put it above Shattered. Controversial, maybe, but hey ho. One thing I loved about the Smurfs game is just how I was not expecting much, and it turned out to be like the best tower defense game I've played in VR. I'm not one for tower defense games, so I'm not like an expert on the genre. I'm sure there's some people that are really into it. They played Smurfs, was like, "Ooh, this is fucking kid shit." But I really liked it. Like, it had some really creative units and stuff you can do. I like the story. I appreciate that it starts out with some kind of like simple arenas, but then gets some quite complicated ones. Like there's one where you're like inside the middle of a treetop and it's going around you. There's another where there's like a massive ravine and you've literally got to pull it around to get to the spots. You know, there's some really creative levels. There was one that really fucked me over though. Like back when I reviewed this last year, don't don't ask me when. I want to say it was about a year ago. But I don't know. Was it January or that? I want to say it was early 2026, but I don't remember. There's been so many releases last year that I just don't remember. But when I played it last year for review, I managed to get through the 3 out of 4 chapters, and then like this one on chapter 4, I just couldn't get past it, and it was just annoying the fuck out of me. I was like, okay, well I've played more than enough to see what's going on. There's only like a half dozen stages left. And yeah, I ended up going back to it, and I still had difficulty, but I kept with it, and I got past it. And then the levels after that were basically fine. So this one level's sort of like a speed bump along the way, but yeah, not necessarily a bad level, just a really hard one. But it's cool, and I was quite surprised that when you unlock the hard mode, really sort of like a challenge mode where you get the stages and you have to do it under certain requirements. I think it adds a lot to it and definitely makes it good value for money, in my opinion. I'll say if you're not, I'm not a massive fan of the Smurfs. You don't like the Smurfs, you might not like it, but I don't really have any nostalgia for the Smurfs. I still enjoyed it, so there we go. Right, now moving on to the non-VR games. The first one on the list is Viva Pinata. Old game. Why am I playing that? Well, I started at the back end of last year a marathon of rare releases. I wasn't necessarily doing them in order, I was just picking and choosing them as and when. Mainly because there's stuff like with Viva Pinata. With Viva Pinata, they released like Viva Pinata Pocket Paradise, Viva Pinata Trouble in Paradise. Kind of close to each other, and I think I'd just be fucking sick of it, to be honest. So I thought I'd spread them out. So I picked and chose them as and when. Like Viva Pinata, really good. I'm going to place it here. Viva Pinata is a classic, and it's a really cool rare title. The problem I have with Viva Pinata is that you design your own garden, and because you're sort of attracting new species, you sort of have to demolish huge chunks of your garden. So you start off making a nice little garden that looks pretty and stuff, and make it nice and organised. But as you play, it sort of encourages you to make a fucking mess. So it's like, okay, now this was like 40% water, and it wants you to have like this structure, and it wants you to have like this species in there as well. So you can spend hundreds of hours to kind of get these species to come across whilst keeping your garden looking nice. But it sort of encourages you to just get these requirements by any means necessary. And it means that by the time I beat the game and got like Master Gardener status and the credits, it was just like, yeah, my garden is a fucking shit pit. It's something the sequel does, it does kind of help because it has more of a kind of a relaxed mode. And even the handheld one, which is somewhere here, does have a relaxed mode where you don't have to worry about those requirements so much. You can do what you want with everything unlocked, but the original doesn't. Portal Still Live, Masterpiece. I am going to place it. I'm going to place it at the top. The original Portal is just so good, like so good. It's one of those games that you can beat in like an hour and a half, but it's so well designed. Like this is the Xbox Live version, which adds a bunch of different challenge maps, but it's still basically the same game. If you could play Portal 1, play Portal 1. The only gripe I have with it is that because it introduces something that's quite complex, revisiting the game can be a little jarring, because when you're really familiar with the game and you're good with portals, you kind of notice that, like, the vast majority of the test chambers, you're still kind of in tutorial mode. Like, you don't actually get the second portal functionality until, like, more than halfway, which is really weird. I went back after playing for, not playing it for quite a long time, and I was just like, am I ever going to get the fucking orange ball anytime soon? But it's still good. And speaking of great, we have Baba Is You, which I am going to place. I'm going to place here. I think Baba Is You is another masterpiece. This is the mobile version, which honestly is just as good as the console version, just smaller. The only reason I place it under Portal really is mainly because replaying it, I sort of know what to do, and it just means I fly through it. Whereas Portal, I know what to do, but the Portal mechanics are so fun to mess around with that it doesn't really matter. But it's cool. Hitman Contracts, controversial, but I really like Hitman. And Contracts is a banger. It's an absolute banger. So yeah, that goes highly on the list. I don't like it as much as Hitman 2 as Assassin, but I still think it's really good. I think the story is a fucking mess, and especially like in the second half when they remake the original Hitman stages, I think that it sort of drops it on the wayside, which I think is unfortunate. But still, I mean, this was a game that's sort of not together, and I think for what it is, it's great. RC Pro M, I think it's fine. I will place it above Pirates VR, but below Hitman. Yeah, oof. What's happening to the thing? Why is it showing that? I don't understand. Hello. Hello. OBS. Are you going to show that? There we go. Right. That's sort of thrown me off. RC Pro N. Yeah, it's fine. It's a little bit boring. You have to do like very similar kind of stages again and again and again and again. So it's one of those games where you're like, oh, this is cool. And then by the time you beat it, you're just like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done with it. But it's not bad. It's just, yeah. Killer Instinct Gold. I think it's decent. I think it's really decent. And I'm going to put Killer Instinct with it just below. Yeah, I mean, Killer Instinct. Both the games are fine. They're both basically the same game, to be honest. But Killer Instinct Gold is a lot more polished. And on the N64, not a massive fighting game fan. Some of the characters I like. I quite like the visuals, some of the moves, some of the stages. Yeah. I mean, honestly, if it's not more combat, I mean, I'm usually not bothered with fighting games. So I apologise if those seem obscenely low, but whatever. Mickey's Speedway USA. I'm going to place it at the bottom. It's decent. I mean, it's disappointing for the makers of Diddy Kong Racing because that's such a good game. But, you know, the mechanics are solid. It's just the stages and whatnot are just not very exciting. And the whole layout of it is just like a standard Mario Kart game with just Grand Prix and whatnot. So it's, I don't know, it's not really that much exciting. The characters don't shut the fuck up either. It's solid, there's nothing wrong with it, but you sort of feel like Rare were doing the Disney thing under obligation. They sort of had to do it, and you feel that. This one hurts me. Alice Manuscript. I remember loving this, and I do love the art style, but yeah, I'm gonna place it here controversially. I used to like it a lot, but honestly, it's kind of boring. Like going back into it, especially the earlier worlds, are just they're decent when you first start playing, and then they drag on and on and on. With just like, and even then, like all the worlds have very similar gameplay gimmicks. Sometimes they throw in something new, but not often enough. The Queen of Hearts stage works well because, like, there's some sections which seem like this could be going on a bit too long, and then it stops, and then it throws in a bunch of new stuff. Like you've got the card bridge, you've got the chase sequence from the giant card. You've got the maze. You've got the what else is there in that one? Oh, you've got the bit where you're a fucking giant Alice and you're stomping on shit. It's got some really cool sections, and I think that world shows what the game should have been, and the rest of it just drags on and on and on and on and on. And yeah, I find myself not enjoying it that much. Like the original, I enjoy more as a game. The sequel, I enjoy more as something to look at. Right, the Perfect Dark games. I beat. I think it was within 24 hours, I want to say. I beat the Perfect Dark trilogy. I think it was 24 or 48 hours. I can't remember what it was, but I just kind of hammered through these. Well, for no particular reason other than just like, hey, I'm a massive Perfect Dark fan. I've never done this before, so there we go. Right, so let's get this out of the way. Perfect Dark is a masterpiece. It's my favourite game of all time. I can't rank it any lower than that. The Xbox Live version I like less than the N64 version because I don't think the controls are as good. However, it also looks a lot better and frame rate's a lot better. And I kind of think that if you're a modern gamer, play the Xbox Live version. It's just the best way to play. The N64 version is the best version for a speedrunner, but I think for a normal gamer, like if I want to play it casually and just play it for fun and have just a bit of a laugh, the Xbox Live version is definitely the way to go. So I think it's a masterpiece still. The other ones, the Game Boy Color one, I am going to put as really light. I think it's great for what it is, and I have a lot of fun. It definitely has some issues, and I can see why some people don't like it, but I think it's great. Perfect Dark Zero, it's decent. I mean, I think the thing is with Perfect Dark Zero, I like the lore of it. Like, even though it does contradict a lot of, the original Perfect Dark lore, I find that, it has it, if you treat it as sort of like a separate timeline, I think it has some decent stuff. And that can be seen by the Perfect Dark Zero novels and graphic novels. But there's something cool behind it. The game itself has a shit story and I say a lot of inconsistencies, but hey ho. The game itself is okay. Like I think that it gets better later on. Like I remember when I played it over the last month, some of the early stages were slow going. I don't know whether it's because I just got used to it or whether the later stages are just better. But I was enjoying it a lot more in the later stages. But yeah, it is what it is. Like the multiplayer is definitely better than the single player, but yeah, it's fine. I think it's a disappointment in terms of Perfect Dark, but it's not terrible. Mom Hit My Game, it's decent. I like the Mom Hit My games. They're just sort of stupid little puzzle games. You've got to find like his little console. They're on the Switch and maybe on other consoles too, but best play them on your phone. You just tap it, you just find the console, and it's got some ridiculous puzzles. They're nice little diversions for half an hour. Right, Procession to Calvary. That's a great game. I really enjoy it. Point and click adventure game with a medieval styling. Now this playthrough wasn't as good as my initial playthrough because I went violent mode. Because I went through as a pacifist before doing it as nature intended. So I thought, hey, I'm going to go through and do violent mode, which is basically instead of solving puzzles, you stab people. So you get someone to gateway and they're like, oh, well, I need you to get this for me, or I need to see this document, or whatever, or, I can't go here without that, or you need to fetch me an orc, or something. It's just like, stab. Yeah, there's an initial bit, like right at the start, where you need to get like some sort of orc in order to, use this robot. And then there's a guy on crutches, and you think, oh, that'll work. And then you're supposed to go through a whole series of quests, like you've got to help that guy, and to help him, you need to help someone else and help someone else. But yeah, you could just stab the guy with yours and steal his orb, and you're good to go. And that's the first act done. So yeah, I did blast through it. I didn't enjoy it as much, but it's still funny. I don't think it's a masterpiece. I think there's some things that sort of convoluted. and maybe some things are forced because they try and get like these classic Renaissance images. Um, but it's still really good. I still really enjoy it. Definitely worth playing. Waroom Shite. I played this basically for the PolyQuest kind of thing, which is if you don't know what that is, Polykill Network do like a sort of a beating thing where you kind of talk about games you've beaten and give a little bit of information about it. And the PolyQuest is sort of like an Excel style quest mode where you have to fulfill certain requirements with each beat, and one of them is beat it along with a bunch of other people. So people went for that because it's a really short game and can be bought for 99 cents, but it's also shite. Speaking of shite, Connect Sports 2 is fucking garbage. The sports are awful in it. Like, yeah, American football. I know there's probably fans of American football watching this, but I don't know whether it's because of the game or whether it's just inherent in American football. But the American football one in particular is just shit. And the other ones are okay, I suppose, but I'm just not going to play them garbage. I'm never going to play again. But I am going to place the first one in It's Decent. I surprisingly had a fun time, and I will go back to it. I wish that the Connect experiment didn't basically ruin Rare, because after Connect Sports they did nothing really until Sea of Thieves, and then they're sort of stuck with Sea of Thieves, which is a shame because like I think the Xbox output for Rare is actually pretty good. Like people criticize it a lot, and there are certainly some stinkers in there, but I think on the whole, some of the games there are some of their best games, or at least rank highly. Um, so yeah, I think like Connect Sports is a great game, and if they'd have moved on from Connect Sports Season 1 and Season 2 and started making like Banjo 3 or like other properties they have like Blast Ops 2, then yeah, I think people wouldn't have cared as much. But yeah, Tori 3D, it's decent. Like I know people love the Tori games, and I think they're solid platformers, but there's not much to them. They're pretty simple. Frog Ball is garbage, um, but I sort of have a tolerance for it. It's published by a studio that's known for like asset flips and like low quality trash, and this is like the only game that they've ever published that's actually been made properly. The difference is it was made by Kadu Lights Super Monkey Ball, so he basically made his own really low budget Super Monkey Ball, and you can tell it's this kid's first project or like an early project, so it's not great. It definitely has a lot of issues. It has a slow frame rate. The level design's wonky. The physics don't quite work, but it's if you treat it as like some kid's school project, then it's not bad. But as a premium game to buy on the eShop, it's garbage. If you ever see it for like 99 cents or something, you're a Monkey Ball fan, I'd say it's worth picking up just to see what it is. It does blatantly copy Monkey Ball designs, especially like later on, and some of the music is suspiciously similar. But yeah, I'd say it's worth trying out. Grab by the Ghoulies, another controversial one, gets a lot of shtick. I really like it. Thing is with Grab by the Ghoulies, you got to remember it's a beat 'em up. Beat 'em ups are really simple. Like beat 'em ups are a genre that some people just don't like at all, and I even find that like a lot of beat 'em ups can be kind of boring and repetitive. But I still like them. And one of the main gripes with Grab by the Ghoulies is that it's not very long. But the thing is, it's a beat 'em up. I think I think that Grab by the Ghoulies, if it was any longer, it would be a real chore. And I think that even with the length it is at now, it's still pushing it sometimes. Like I can't remember if it was Act 2 or Act 3, but there's one of the chapters, I think it's the second chapter, where it just seems to go on forever. Like you're searching for all these ingredients and you're just like, whew, this is going on. But otherwise, I think it's really good. Like I think that it's really accessible. I did the different rooms with the Grim Reaper mechanics where you've got different challenges to pull off is a nice way of sort of mixing things up to kind of stave off tedium a bit. I think it's really good. I think it gets stick, and I think it's a really good rare game. It's not a masterpiece like a lot of others, but I think to get a masterpiece beat 'em up, that's difficult to do. You've got Streets of Rage 2 that's a masterpiece. How many other masterpiece beat 'em ups do you really have? And even then, some of those will be debatable amongst the general gaming community. But yeah, but again, Streets of Rage 2. I mean, if that went on for like, how long was this game? Like 3-4 hours or so? If Streets of Rage 2 went on for 3-4 hours, would people enjoy it as much? I don't think so. I don't think so. So I think it's pretty good for what it is. View Pinata, Pocket Paradise. I really enjoyed it at first. It does streamline some things, but other things, not so much. I'm going to play it decent. I'm going to place it here, controversially. Like, I think that streamlining the romancing is definitely great. I think that was a good choice. However, I also think that just being on a DS screen does kind of work against it. There's a lot of like moving around and it's a faff getting everywhere. So I think they made some wise choices to make it an enjoyable game, but I think there are some things inherent to the device that don't work well for it. Moving on, Diddy Kong Racing DS. I really like this game. I'm going to place it here. Again, this gets a lot of stick, but I think that the stick it gets is inherent to the platform. I think, yeah, it's not ideal being on a DS rather than N64, but I think for being a DS kart racing game, I don't think you could really have done it better, to be honest. So, fair play to them. You know, there's some elements that I'm not as keen on, like, you know, when you do it the second time around, in order to unlock the final stage, you have to pop all these balloons and stuff, and that's not the most interesting, but would I prefer driving around the stages collecting the silver coins and having to basically beat the game twice, Ghost and Goblin style? Probably not. So yeah, I think that it was a decent concession. I think it's really good. I think that if you don't have an N64 but have a DS, want to play Diddy Kong Racing, good option. Blast Off, fantastic! Oh my god, I'd forgotten how good this game was. Like my memory of it, I remember it being like pretty decent, but you know, I was also kind of thinking, I'm gonna stick it here. I think anybody fantastic is gonna be like amazing anyway, so I don't think it really matters whereabouts I put it. But Blast Off is so much fun. Oh my god! Like I think that the only real gripe, aside from this one fucking stage where like there's a train going through, and you're in this piece of shit vehicle where you've got to sort of like skid your rear end into the buildings to destroy them. But the thing is, you have to do it really fucking well in that level. If you're not a master of backlash, then you're just not gonna be able to do it. Because I did it pretty much spot on, and the train was like just there. Like, well, I say the train. It's on the train tracks, but it's the explosive device. It was like that far away from exploding. And the idea you've got to clear the way for this exploding device that goes in a straight line. So you have to destroy it in this way, and it's really, really fun. And then afterwards you unlock some levels that aren't based around the explosive carrier. But yeah, fantastic. Right, anyway, that's it. We've gone on for like almost an hour now. So yeah, it's a lot to do. I imagine in future months there's going to be fewer games beaten because like this month I've got some longer games to beat, so this part is definitely going to be shorter, but then hopefully the news part will be longer, so we'll see how we go. Anyway, thanks all for joining us. Hopefully it's gone alright. Maybe it's been a fucking disaster and it hasn't worked because this is the first time I've ever streamed to YouTube, let alone YouTube Shorts. So maybe it's not going to work properly, but fingers crossed. Anyway, hope to see you next time. I'll see you and the start of March for the next one. See ya, folks. Bye.